DFMCO, hello and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. This is our 50th episode, which is very exciting, and we're going to be talking about two movies from directors that we have a history with, and we'll kind of go into that history a little bit later. The two movies we're talking about are The Private Lives of Pippa Lee and the new movie in theaters, Priscilla. But I'm joined this week with my amazing co-host, as always, Diane. How are you doing, Diane?
I'm amazing. I didn't realize that till today. Mm-hmm. I can't believe we've done this 50 times now.
50 times.
Kate, I have to say I have truly enjoyed, maybe not all the movies, but I've enjoyed talking about them with you.
Oh, thank you, Diane. I can't believe it's been 50 episodes. This is our fourth season. So, I mean, technically speaking, we've been doing it two years. That's crazy.
It is crazy. I can't believe that all these movies that we've watched, right? First off, we start off with a list of 100 movies and went through them and said, okay, which ones have we already seen? Mark those up, and then went forward with the list of movies. And we've watched them all, almost. Yeah. I mean, for people who are new, we have a lot of people who are new listeners and everything, so might not have went back to our first season. When our first season, we had this list, and it was like randomized what it was, and the first season we just picked at random movies from this list. So like Diane and whoever our guest was would pick a number, and then whatever number that was on my randomized list, that would be the movie we'd watch the next week. So that was the show, and so we'd often get two completely odd pairings. Yeah. Some strange A24 movie.
Yeah. I mean, they would often seem random. Sometimes they would kind of go together. Like I sometimes think, like sometimes we end up having some of these connected pieces, and it's kind of fun to sort of see what two completely random movies and what did they have in common. But yeah, sometimes it was. So, I mean, we changed that. So, I mean, we started then selecting them beforehand. That way that we could kind of pair them well with each other and everything. But these were supposed to be, Diane, movies that people enjoyed that are on like people's like hidden gems lists or movies you have to see. But we had some really bad ones still.
Oh, really bad. I have been trying to put them out of my brain if I could. Yeah. Like bad nightmares. You just try to forget them.
Yeah.
Usually they're your favorite movies in our case.
Yeah, some cases they are. We will split, and Diane will just absolutely detest something that I really like, but then there's oftentimes that we will agree on something great, or we'll agree that something's bad. Yeah, there's some overlap sometimes.
And then there's movies that I love that you think are like, oh yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I still haven't got you to watch any Hallmark movies yet, but
no, I haven't put those on the list. We did put Abraham Lincoln. That eventually got put on the list.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but you're right. There is nothing better than Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's been situations like that. There's so we've had 50. I guess we should say we've had 50 regular episodes, and we've had like 4 specials. So we've technically done 54, but that's how we're counting them. The regular season ones, and then at the end of every season we do this sort of recap episode where we say our favorite and least favorite, and then we of course did Barbenheimer. So there's been these ones that are outside of the actual season and everything. But yeah, we have done. I've totaled them up. We have done over 100 hours of podcasts.
Wow.
So 101 hours and 11 minutes of podcasts.
Well, I don't think either one of our families would be surprised to find out that we could talk for 100 hours, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be surprised by that.
On average, Diane, how long do you think our episodes are?
Oh, well over 2 hours.
If we take them all together, the average actually is 1 hour and 48 minutes.
So I was close. Close, yeah.
Close. Yeah. Because there's been a couple of times when we just can't control ourselves. We just go on and on and on. But some of those are our best episodes too. That at least the feedback I've gotten.
Yes. It is interesting. Some we can talk for ages, and other ones it's quick. It's
a struggle.
It's like,
a struggle.
I just like just this that
the endless.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I mean, recently Rubber of just like we just like, how do we say any more about this?
There's nothing else you can say. And Rubber is a tire. Just for those who did not listen to that episode.
Yeah.
I don't think we're talking about making rubber trees in the dorm.
No. We're talking about the Killer Tire movie.
Yeah.
That was this season.
Yeah.
Well, I got a quiz for you, Diane.
Oh boy.
Okay, we've done 50 episodes. Okay. I want you to guess how many episodes were you on, Diane, of the 50?
Of the 50, 47.
45.
45. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I knew that I missed some for some reasons, but
yes.
And a couple that I missed, I was grateful that I missed.
Yes.
Really grateful. And
yes.
then a couple that I missed, some of the feedback that I got was all they could say was how much they wish you'd put you through this of watching this movie. Because I think you got some friends there who kind of enjoy torturing me.
Yeah. No, it was. There's always this nice thing with Harrison of he's he'll jump on. I mean, Harrison's one of the few people who's done it just without you and everything. It's just been him and I a few times. I think twice now. But yeah, he's
listened.
He's took a bullet for you. A few times.
Yeah. He has, but I don't feel like I owe him anything either. So there's that.
Yeah. But also, I guess we should talk. We've never really, I don't think, ever publicly said that, but you weren't in the first episode of Del Feature.
That's true. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yes.
Because you had a different plan.
Yes.
Well, actually, you what was it? You spent 6 months trying to talk me into doing it.
Yes.
And you even bought me a camera.
Yeah.
Right. So the one I'm using right now, and but I think your original plan was different.
Yeah.
And you just got stuck with me because I was the only one who wouldn't say no.
So
I'm your ride or die there, Cade.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I mean, I had tried I wanted to have this all the way back in during the pandemic of just, kind of hanging out, talking about movies and everything. And it was a lot of, even before, I mean, the idea came back even before that. But I had, tried to convince not only you, but Andrew and Kenna, who've been on the show and everything, and have been on Ken and Friends and everything, in our trivia team and all that. And that was a long time. It was a lot convincing them. Eventually, you convinced them, and you were supposed to be if one of them couldn't make it, you were the fill-in.
I was the alternate. Yeah,
you were the alternate.
I was the alternate that became your ride or die.
Yes.
Jennifer used that term the other day, and I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in forever. And now it's like on Wendy's commercials and or Burger King commercials or something. Anyway, so now I'm hearing it all the time.
That's what Jada Pickett would say. She's like, if you want someone to be your ride or die.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why I know that, but but yeah, she, which I don't know if that's accurate, but anyway, not wading into that controversy.
I'll have to look at the origin for that one.
Yeah. I mean, it had existed before that, of course.
But I went from being an alternate to being a co-host even.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
and so
I feel honored.
Yeah. I mean, I think that first season we really were figuring out a lot of things, like it was really, we didn't select guests beforehand. We were contacting people that week of hey, we're doing this. And it was kind of through that we stopped at 15 in order to kind of have the break that we needed. So that sort of, a lot of stuff was created through that, just sort of figuring it all out on the times. And so there were some good episodes of just us, and then us and getting a guest in that time. I was looking back at all of some of my favorite episodes that we've done. And I had my first real favorite episode we did was the third episode. adult feature. It was Bling Ring and Bad Words.
Yeah, that was a good one. It really was. You're talking about two polar opposite movies too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a good episode. I could definitely, yeah.
And that was Kenna. I think that was Kenna's last episode. But yeah, and she'll bring that up too and everything. That probably is what made her not come on anymore.
Yeah, probably the reason why we haven't heard from Kenna since then.
Yeah, is Bling Ring. But yeah, no, that was one that I think we really got it. I think that was the second time you had been on, and I think we really that finally meshed there. The idea that like there could be bad movies in this, and we weren't just like talking about great movies or whatever. And it was, I think, really just fun and much more relaxed and everything. And those were interesting movies. It was kind of it showed what double feature could be with like, here's a movie that we all didn't care for, and here's a movie that we all enjoyed and everything. And we just had fun and everything. And I really think that was sort of the first episode that really got it.
Yeah, they gelled. I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree. That was a good one, and two really polar opposite movies too, from an entertainment perspective.
Yeah, and that sort of started the whole thing with, as we're going to talk about later in this episode, Sofia Coppola, who that was the first movie we reviewed of hers on the show. And I previously I've liked other things from Sofia Coppola, and so it was a little bit of it was a big misstep. I do think Diane and I even talked about this recently about Bling Ring, of just I can imagine I can't see how that movie was made by her. I would love to hear her talk about that process of like if that was really 100% what she had meant to make, or if there was some sort of studio pressure, or if that is what she meant to make, sort of her talking about why that was how she made that, because I would like to hear her processes, because I really love her as a director. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a surprise too. After watching The Beguiled, it was like, how in the world did that Bling Ring happen? It was almost like there were advertisers who wanted to make sure their labels got talked about enough, because that's all I remember from that movie was just the Paris Hilton's closet, a beautiful shot from above of a all glass house that they were robbing from, and then the labels, the designer, the names, was just like one after another, and then that was about it for the whole movie.
The majority of the movie was just them going through closets saying brand names, and it's odd, like that's strange. I can get that being part of the movie, or that sort of saying something. If the rest of the movie sort of, I don't know, it was just it was weird. I am confused by the choices there. Also, we've already mentioned that episode 6, Coherence and the Endless. That was with Alex.
Talk about polar opposites from a movie perspective. Coherence was one of those I have listed as one of my hidden gems. That I'm so glad. One of the reasons I'm really glad to be on this podcast is I get to watch a movie I would have never considered watching, because it would have never hit my radar. And here was one of them. And what a gem that movie was. And then The Endless, which was never ending. And how those people got the money to make that movie was amazing, and have gotten more money.
And they keep making them, and Netflix keeps getting them other movies to make. Like, they have a career, and
it's amazing.
Yeah. I think that was a great. Again, since the first season, we were randomized, and so we didn't we happened to have these sort of lo-fi, sci-fi sort of things together that were independent films that were made on a budget that were both sci-fi, and they end up being together. But I think that was so good to sort of be able to compare those films, because they were Coherence. Just even in comparison to Endless is like a masterpiece, and I still think it's just an incredibly good movie. And
it really is, and I would still recommend it to anyone to watch that movie, just because it's just It's not what you expect at all. And it truly is a hidden gem from that perspective. You know, we had some others like that too. We had Sing Street and Mississippi Grind in the same weekend. One is a musical, you know, and a story about what, Ireland. Is it Ireland? Band
I
in
think
Ireland.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one is was Ryan Reynolds, I think,
And Ben
in
Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn in Mississippi Grind, which was pure drama. I mean, you know, talking about polar opposite kind of movies, but an enjoyable weekend to watch too. You know, it was not. Yeah.
Yes.
Neither one of them were boring.
Yes, and that was a good episode, and I love Mississippi Grind. That's another one that I don't think gets enough credit for. I think it's really just a really interesting story, and it does its themes really well. I must say it wasn't getting in until the sort of very end, and it just had this profound impact, and it still sticks with me in a way that I really just I love that movie a lot. So yeah, I mean, and again, like you said earlier, I don't know how many of these movies I would have just watched on my own accord. Like it would like that they would have made it, and I would have just sat down and watched them. Not a lot, not a lot of them. And some of these were on my list to like watch eventually and everything, but I just don't know if I would have just actually taken the time to sit down and watch them. Nor would I have known which ones of these I would end up liking, you know, or which ones to put higher on my list. And so I'm glad that we just worked our way through this huge list a lot. Another one from that first season that were opposites in a lot of ways, and it's one of my favorite episodes, and it was one of the few that was just us, was Ben is Back and Blackcoat's Daughter.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's Blackcoat's Daughter is one of those that stays with me. And I kind of have, it's become like a measurement bar almost for me, you know, from a suspense, and I hate to use the word horror, but yeah, I know that's part of it, but from a suspense perspective, you know, it really kept you on the edge of your seat, and it's kind of become a measurement bar for me. Was this as good as Blackcoat's Daughter or not, you know?
It's a high bar to pass. I mean, like that's where like routinely it is kind of, it's at the top of my list of movies that we've just watched on this show, period. Like there's this sort of Hall of Fame of where I see Double Feature Movie Club, and it's Blackcoat's Daughter, it's Maggie's Plan, it's Bad Education. Like these are these sort of cream of the crop for me for films that we've watched that it's hard for anything to sort of come that close in my books, because those are just near pitch perfect films. And yeah.
Which I feel that way about All Is Lost. And I remember when the trailers were out for that and thinking, well, it's Robert Redford. I mean, really, most of the time, how can you go wrong? But then I didn't go see it because I thought, well, it's just Robert Redford in a boat in an hour and something minutes. I don't know that I could stand that or not. Most mesmerizing film I've watched in years. You just could not take your eyes off the screen, and it was on the edge of your seat kind of mesmerizing. Even though there's no dialogue, it's him in a boat in the ocean, and an incredible movie. Incredible movie. And got to hand it to him. He was like in his early 80s, I guess, whenever he made it, and it had to be grueling, just grueling to do this.
Just be out in the water and yeah.
He should have gotten an Academy Award for that one. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit prejudiced or biased or whatever, but yeah, he should have gotten that award for that one.
And like he was so like they say like this X amount of words are said in the movie, but it's almost all in one chunk of like him reading a letter or something. Like it was I don't even think those should count. Like most of it is, it's almost a completely silent performance.
Right. Outside 30 seconds.
Yeah.
30 seconds of dialogue.
Yeah.
46 words or something like that. But just a spellbinding movie, and highly recommend it to anyone who asks me. And I do have people, of course, mainly my age, ask me all the time, well, what movies would you recommend from your list? And it's always on the list because it's just unbelievable. You know,
that guy,
go ahead.
I was going to say the guy who directed it is another one that we've watched a lot on our JC Chandor. He did this. He did Margin Call, which is another one that we just an and then to talk about like comparing writing and directing
Margin Call and All Is Lost. I mean, Margin Call is so dialogue heavy. It is so
so many characters, so many twists, it turns in things you have to tie together, and just storytelling itself. And yeah, I would recommend to anybody, if J.C. Chandler makes a movie, go see it, because you're going to be surprised. Number one, and it's probably going to be a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing that Kraven the Hunter movie, which does not look good, but I'm gonna see it because
because you're totally surprised by it.
Yeah,
you got a good shot at it.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can't see it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how this is the same guy, but I'll watch it for that reason. But that's good. I like that you recommend. I mean, like I get that a lot too. Of like, what would you recommend and everything, and there's I mean, so we have like these ones that are up there that are
I had what I had on my hidden gems. You've already talked about Bad Education and Coherence. The one I love. I don't know if you remember that one or not. Let me give you some more information. Yes, Elizabeth Moss is in it. And it was just a surprise. I want to say Twilight Zone, but not quite. But really a surprising, twisty kind of movie about relationships that you just don't see. And to me, it was one of those hidden gems. The other one was Hearts Beat Loud with Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a feel-good movie, but we don't get enough feel-good movies sometimes in our world.
Yeah.
And that one, you couldn't help but fall in love with the characters in it.
And the music was kind of good. I think of all the music things that we've done, I think that sort of stands out. I mean, I like aspects of Sing Street, but I do think that the music in that was really good. And it's really just, not only is it a feel good, it's like a vibrant looking film. Like you look at it, and it's just the way it's color graded. It's just very vibrant and not like garish, like when some people do like a vibrant thing. It's just very just poppy, and it's a good feel good movie.
It reminded me a lot of when the first time that I worked in New York back in 1979 was kind of had the feel of where we worked and what it was like there, and the street, and how it was kind of a community, and all that kind of the vibe that it was kind of nostalgic to me, and maybe that's why I kind of, tended to her. But I really thought that was a good, feel good movie, little hidden gem there that would recommend to anybody to watch if they want to, see kind of a feel good movie about a daughter and a dad.
And it's got a good supporting cast. I mean, we just like Toni Collette's in it, and Ted Danson. Yeah. And they're both
Toni Collette's. She's been in a lot of movies we've watched.
Yeah,
we were talking about that earlier, and I didn't think about that. But Toni Collette's been in a lot of them.
So yeah, Diane and I asked I was going to look this up and try to figure out what actor has been in the most movies that we watched. And so I don't know. Ted Danson has ironically been in a few things. It's just like supporting roles. He was in One I Love and Hearts Beat Loud. But I would say Zoe Kazan or Kazan or whatever. I think that she might be the one who's in the most. It's her, possibly Annette Bening. Those are the two that if I had to wager, that's what I would say. Obviously, we've done 2 Adam Driver nights, but Adam Driver hasn't just appeared in other things.
He showed up in The Post, or not The Post, the other one with Annette Bening,
The Report.
The Report, yeah.
Which was Adam Driver. So, I mean, like, Adam Driver Night was...
Oh, he was an Adam Driver.
Yeah. So, that was Adam Driver Night. It's like we had those 2. So, obviously, Adam Driver's been in 4 movies we've talked about. But
maybe we can skip Adam Driver for a while. Yeah.
But I trying to think if there's any... I mean, like... So, they'd have to be in more than 4 to beat Adam Driver. And...
Colin Farrell, he's been in.
Colin Farrell's been in a few. Yeah. Nicole Kidman has been
surprising.
We did a Nicole Kidman night, and then she also appeared in the one with Colin Farrell, the Killing of a Sacred Deer. So if she appeared
and The Beguiled. So yeah, they did a couple together, didn't they?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they were in both of those together. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm trying.
I had to really sit there and think about it. I was going to do that before. I don't know.
I know.
I bet it's Zoe because she was just in the one that we just watched. She was in The Monster. She was in Ruby Sparks.
What if?
What if?
Yeah.
Oh, if she's in, she wrote Wildlife with Paul Dano. But I don't know if that counts.
True.
Yeah, I think she's probably number one. But anyways, season.
Go ahead.
I was going to jump to season 2 of the ones that we talked about, Margin Call and Inherent Vice. That's technically our lost episode since our audio wasn't great. You can watch it on our YouTube channel, but it's not great audio. But we enjoyed it in the room talking about it. I thought one of the other ones that really kind of cemented our dynamic and kind of it was the first episode back on season 2, which was episode 16, A Ghost Story and Extraordinary. It was just the two of us. And Ghost Story is another one that's well within our reference. There's these movies that we reference often. We reference Bling Ring often. We reference Ghost Story often. And the pie scene and the Casey Affleck's performance. Casey Affleck, another one who may or may not have been in the machine. We really don't know. He's only in one scene for sure. But yes. Yeah. You know, the thing that I loved about that season was The Lobster. It was the most surprising movie I think I've seen. I was really surprised by that movie. And in fact, on that particular weekend, we had the same director, right? Yes.
And Colin Farrell was in both of those movies. But The Killing of the Sacred Deer wasn't as impressed with as it was The Lobster, just because it was so out there and so weird.
Mm-hmm. And I liked Killing of Sacred Deer more, but but both of them, both of them are great. And he has a new movie that's coming out that is Emma Stone and like Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo, and it looks really good and it's out there crazy.
It broke the projector today when I was at the theater. Oh, the trailer did for that, but it looks crazy, and yes, I want to see it.
Yes,
we should do a podcast about it too, just because I think there's a lot to talk about with that movie.
Well, supposedly Emma Stone's the front runner for Best Actress for that role, even though
the role. Oh wow!
So it's supposed to be an out there role.
He's given her some fun things to do for looks of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the movie again?
It's Poor Things.
Poor Things. Okay.
I think that's what it's called. But yeah, I mean, like one thing I want to kind of do next season, is we were talking about doing like an Oscar special. And it might be good to do 2 films that are supposedly going to be there's always 2 front runners for Best Picture.
There's always 2.
Is it this one or this one? And so, unless we've talked about it before, which I doubt that we have. I mean, Priscilla could. It's possible, I guess.
Probably Killers of the Flower Moon has the best chance.
Probably of the ones that we've watched, yeah.
Or Oppenheimer.
Yes, Oppenheimer will do the technical awards. They'll just sweep all of those.
Oh
yeah.
That makes sense. Although Barbie should get something.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, there's a few. Production design, the set design, costuming, set design, all that stuff is brilliant in Barbie. And I'm
Ryan
sure
Gosling should get his best supporting. I'm sorry. He's so adorable in that movie. So unexpected. I would have never thought in a million years Ryan Gosling is Ken. I'm sorry. Would have never thought that. But he was perfect.
And speaking of Ryan Gosling, I had another one that I want to talk about. I really loved our episode about Drive and Neon Demon. That's one of my favorite episodes we did too. That was with Abby. She was our guest there. And I think that was very fascinating because we kind of all, I think, agreed, which I didn't think when watching it. I would have never bet that we would have, and even before this, knowing what the public, sort of how people talked about Drive, and Drive's the sort of thing that everyone loves, and I had never seen. And then the kind of public perception of Neon Demon, which is not great. But we all liked it more, which was
a nice surprise.
Yeah, I put that one as with the lobsters being a surprise movie that was that I enjoyed. I enjoyed watching. There were parts of it that on both of them that were not enjoyable to watch, but I was glad I got that I experienced it. Let me put it that way.
And I'm glad that it was an interesting conversation. Like I think it was a movie that these were I kind of want to see other things by him, but I also know it drops off from there. So I'm like, do I really want to put these other ones on there on our list?
No, we'll skip that.
Yeah, and
I'm
so
okay.
that's where but I really did like Neon Demon. It was long. It was a lot. It was by the end of it, you feel like assaulted by your senses. Feel assaulted. And
all of your senses were assaulted by that.
But I liked what it was saying, and it was interesting. It was an interesting film. It was. I don't think it was in my top 5, but it was. I'm glad I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the lobster's that way too. I'm glad I saw it, but I don't know that I would recommend it for anybody else to see it because it's very, just the uniqueness of both those movies.
Mm-hmm. And Olivia Colman ran away with it in The Lobster.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And
she's
not even hardly in it. I mean, but she can be that way though in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What else went on in the second season?
That's all I have in the second season. I was going to move on to our last season, season 3. Did you have anything else you wanted to say in season 2? Season 2 was kind of this interesting, like we were selecting them. We were trying to put them together in different ways. I think we were still doing these rating things and all that. We didn't have our online presence that was dedicated to double features specifically in that time. But I still, have a lot of fondness for season 2.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. The only that was forever. Never mind. I don't think it was in this season. Oh yes, it was. High Life.
Oh yeah,
absolutely the worst movie ever. So okay.
So High Life. I was nearly put that in one of my favorite episodes because it's you and I. And it was immediately following when we shot Krim's Halloween special for Cade and Friends.
Oh yeah,
and so right. we are in our full costume. We did not move off of the set for Cade and Friends into and reset for double feature. We shot it. We were just like, we're just gonna do this, and we're gonna do this quick. It was not a quick episode because we ended up having a lot we wanted to say about High Life. And I still, I just cannot believe that people like that movie.
I don't get it. I just don't. And I don't get, I still don't, I still kind of don't get Robert Pattinson, but, and that movie certainly didn't make it any better. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was really nothing redeeming about that movie. And I don't know why anybody would recommend it.
And why was it told in the way that it was told?
Well, why was it told at all? I mean, it was like the concept wasn't even worth it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's move off.
Watch that if you want to hear that. I'm hopefully we never have to talk about High Life ever again until episode 100 when we're reliving it all again.
Oh my gosh.
But let's hopefully we never talk about it ever again. But season 3,
nothing's better than when we both hate a movie.
Yeah.
And so it's really bad.
It's really bad. Yeah. Season 3 for me, I had I liked our personal shopper Clouds of Sils Maria episode. That's kind of where we talk. Kristen Stewart, another one who's been in a lot of our movies that we've watched.
And for Kristen Stewart is the one that I have listed as this my surprise actor over all of the seasons because the book on her has always been Twilight, mm-hmm. and what a horrible job she did with that, and she just can't act and yada yada yada. And then you watch these 2 movies and you're gobsmacked by her skill and her talent and she needs a do-over. She needs a do-over where she can get the credit for being as skilled as an actress as she is. And that includes when she played Diana. I was shocked when she was ever cast for that movie, but she was perfect in it.
She was amazing, and I love that performance so much. Yeah, so I mean, we started with her, and like, I mean, if we want to talk about this trip don't feature, we started with the Twilight sort of. We watched a Robert Pattinson thing that was heralded as like his sort of breakout from that with Good Time, and then we watched Spencer from Kristen Stewart, and I think just repeatedly, like, Robert Pattinson has been given this huge like oh, he was able to break out of Twilight, and he's an excellent actor, and everyone now considers him an excellent actor, and Kristen Stewart still has to fight this problem to this day, that people still make jokes about her, still think that she's paid her dues enough, and routinely I believe that she is the proven to be the better actor of the two of them, and I love her choices, and I love what she does. I think her biggest problem is that she hasn't had a great performance in a blockbuster movie yet. Like, Robert Pattinson had Batman, or whatever, and like she never has.
It's so funny. I never saw his Batman.
Yeah,
just couldn't care. I mean, I just couldn't.
Colin Farrell's in it as Penguin.
Well, I just couldn't see him as Batman, and so I never went to see that one.
And
so, she was amazing, Spencer, and she should have gotten a lot more credit than she did.
She should have won the Academy Award that year.
She should have.
And I mean, that was up against another one of my favorite, Jessica Chastain, for her Tammy Faye movie, which that performance is great in a movie that's not good. But Spencer is just an amazing movie and an amazing performance by Kristen Stewart. I mean, that is an extraordinary performance, and I'm glad that we started with that double feature. But routinely, we've worked through their post-Twilight movies, their big ones for both of them, on Double Feature Movie Club, and I haven't been blown away by any Robert Pattinson performance or even film that he's done since then. And I've routinely been absolutely floored by everything Kristen Stewart's done that we've reviewed here.
And that really came out. I mean, you could really see it over the course of, our first 2 seasons, 3 seasons. You really could just tell the difference between, from an acting perspective, that, Kristen Stewart just doesn't get the praise that she should.
Mm-hmm. And Clouds of Sils Maria is one of these movies that I wasn't in it. I wasn't getting it, or it wasn't not getting it. I just wasn't. It wasn't connecting. And then more it set with me, the more I really liked it. And then even after our conversation, it's just one of those movies that's really grown on me. And I do think it's also one of those ones that ended up being in my top 5. Like, I think near the top. Same. Yeah. I think it was at number 2 for both of us that season. And it's another one of those ones that's in like the Hall of Fame of Double Feature Movie Club. And I'll just quickly go through the other ones from last season, since these are more recent and people probably caught up with these. Climax, Kill Your Friends. That's a great episode. We just talked about that last week with Sam. That was another great Sam episode of just where we're not in agreement with. And check that out if you haven't seen that one. We've talked about Climax. That gets brought up quite a bit on the show. And then the other one, which will play into this week, The Beguiled and Destroyer, which was our Nicole Kidman episode with Will Hoxie. And that was a really good episode too. And that's really where we were able to have this bookends of Sofia Coppola of one where we didn't obviously like Bling Ring at all. We made fun of it. Probably too much, but we haven't poked fun at it.
Still, it's on the yardstick of movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Was it as bad as Bling Ring?
Well, yeah. And then sort of see The Beguiled and just be blown away by that movie, and just shown that, yes, I mean, Sofia Coppola is one of the great directors working today, and that was just an amazing movie. So, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say before we...
What else did I have in here? Oh, yeah, we talked about Sofia Coppola. The other one that I was surprised with, and Taika, how do you say his name?
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi, whatever. And, everybody is now finding out more about him from Thor, and then also from Reservation Dogs. But, we had 2 movies of his that I would have never watched if we're doing this broadcast. Boy and the Hunt for the Wilder People.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful movies. And I had no idea that I mean, of all the things that I've watched, I would have never thought that he'd have put those two together.
Mm-hmm.
And just a really, really talented guy when it comes down to, stories from the heart that he wants to tell. And those two I really enjoyed.
And I wish he would sort of return to that sort of idea. Like I mean, he's telling it from his culture, and he has his sensibility, and it's really well crafted. A lot of his stuff's no longer that, and they're not well crafted.
No, they're just I don't know what's going on with that. Although Reservation Dogs, I don't know how much of a hand he had in that particular.
Very, very little. He helped get it started. That was essentially
funding. It's always funding.
Yes. it was a funding thing, and because he had a whatever its first look deal or whatever with FX during that time, and he was able to help shepherd that in, which is, I mean, I give him a lot of credit for that. But yeah, I mean, I just saw Next Goal Wins. AMC did a screen unseen, and they said you're going to watch something. You're not going to know what it's going to be. And it's going to be before it comes out. This was last week. And it was like either going to be The Marvels or Next Goal Wins. Everyone was like guessing at what it was going to be, because they give you the rating and the time, the run time, and end up being Next Goal Wins, which is Taika Waititi's most recent film that he's made. And it also has Michael Fassbender, which he's doing things now. He's just did a Fincher movie. Tease to the end of the podcast, but it was not great. It was deathly unfunny. In a movie where they tried to be filled with jokes, it was like oof. But anyways, yeah, no, I agree. Those other ones were really good. And then of course Barbenheimer we did earlier in the summer, and it was a special, but I really enjoyed that episode a lot.
Yeah, I did too. We had a lot of fun with it. We had a lot of fun at the movies.
Yeah. Oh, you still have the sticker on there.
I still have my sticker on my cup.
I have my Fallout Shelter sign.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. I think now that we've spent this is probably our longest intro ever. We've done 50 episodes. I think we've deserved it and everything. I'm ready to actually jump into the episode, Diane.
I think so. Okay. Although I would say that for anyone who wants to go back and listen to any of our podcasts, go listen to the wrap-up episodes, because they're so much fun.
Yes.
There's always one movie in there that I absolutely turn my stomach that Cade loves. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and I don't know how this happens. I really don't, but it does every single season.
Everyone.
But those are a lot of fun to me. I even go back and listen to those just because I think they're fun.
They are fun. And so, yeah, definitely check. I'm going to be interested to see how this works. And I don't know. We'll have to talk about how this is our shortest season we've done with 10 episodes, that we may have to. We don't know if we should do top 5 and bottom 3. We'll talk about it later. But
we'll
yeah,
figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
out. But yeah, so these are the films that we're talking about today are films that we have a history with. The first one is a Rebecca Miller movie called The Private Lives of Pippa Lee. Rebecca Miller did. She directed and wrote the movie Maggie's Plan, which was my favorite movie of last season. I believe it's my favorite movie. Yes, it is. And I really like that, and we talked about that and everything. So that's why we decided to look back at one of these past movies that she did. Also, just a great cast of just people that have been in a lot of our things before. Zoe Kazan's in this, Julianne Moore. Keanu Reeves has appeared in. He was in Neon Demon. He's been in a few. It's odd seeing him always. Anytime he shows up in a supporting capacity, it is jarring.
Yeah,
but,
it's odd. Yeah.
So he's in. So that's that movie, and then later on we'll be talking about the new release in theaters, Sofia Coppola's Priscilla, which I'm very excited about. Okie dokie. So first up, The Private Lives of Pippa Lee. We'll play this little musical interlude, and then Diane will give the plot of this movie.
Okay, The Private Lives of Pippa Lee is based on a book written by Rebecca Miller, who also wrote the screenplay and directed this movie. And the bottom line plot is the film chronicles the life of Pippa Lee with flashbacks to her tumultuous past. And where the movie starts is she is 50 years old and is being forced to move into a retirement community with her husband, who is 30 years older than her. And the process of living in this retirement community leads her to start having a nervous breakdown. That's when the fun actually starts to happen. But with that, I don't want to give too much of it away until Cade tells me it's okay to start with my spoilers, because I always have them. Rebecca Wright plays Pippa, and she is just wonderful in this movie. And Alan Arkin plays her husband. So, Cade, with that, can we go ahead and start talking about, and just do spoiler alert right now? Just,
sure.
Let me just say that there's no way to talk about this movie without some spoilers.
Yeah, I think like we could set this. So the set the stage. Yeah, you have Robin Wright as Pippa Lee, Alan Arkin as her husband. Her friend is Winona Ryder. Like, this is a stacked cast.
Yeah, what a cast!
And you have the Neighbors. 35-year-old. This was made in 2009. Is Keanu Reeves, who's like this deadbeat who never really figured out what's the phrase they used. They used some phrase to describe him.
Did. I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Come back to it.
But so there's all these really interesting. Julianne Moore is in it for a second in a flashback thing. Her mother's played by Maria Bello. That's the actress's name.
Yes, Maria Bello played her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Played Pippa's mother
in flashbacks. Yeah.
Yes, in flashback. And then when Pippa ran away from home, she ran away to her aunt. Her aunt's lover was Julianne Moore.
Yes.
And Julianne Moore actually spent 2 days filming on her part. But it's a very instructional part that way. Yeah.
So now that that's all been said, if that sounds interesting, it's free on Tubi. You can watch it there. Yes, we're going to jump into spoilers now.
There's not any way around it.
Mm-hmm.
It does go through flashbacks. Mm-hmm. So the life and times of Pippa Lee, who is played by Robin Wright as an adult, right, is played by Blake Lively as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then there was a yet younger version. I think of the character.
It's told like her. I mean, it's chronological on both sides of the story. For the audience who wants to know this, it's told from her Robin Wright as she goes through all this and reminiscing about her past, and that's told chronologically. Her moving into the retirement community and all that stuff that happens there, and then it's told chronologically the flashbacks before her life, from a kid to when she gets to her age. So that's that. Just so you know how it's being told.
It's not easy to explain, but so interesting. Mm-hmm. I think that makes the whole movie interesting. The way that they tell both these stories of her life. You would never have thought, watching the story of her younger life, right? Mm-hmm. She would end up where she did.
Exactly. Yeah.
But unlike last week's movie, it really tells the story of life. That life isn't just, where you go in a straight line. It makes U-turns and does all kinds of shifts in a very quirky way. I love this movie for how quirky it is.
Yeah. So you like the movie a lot?
Oh, I love this movie. Okay. I thought it was really, really good. I don't know what you thought, but do I care? I don't know.
I'll just jump in. I like this movie a lot too. I don't think it's as good as Maggie's Plan in my book, but I do really, really like this movie. Yeah.
This was I couldn't help but laugh and go when she decides to, the Blake Lively person, the girl in her 20s decides to marry this old man. The reason she decides to marry him was to pay pittance to his first wife. I mean, I even in my notes put down, I love this lunch scene And then it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I should have put that down because this is going to sound terrible.
Well, yeah, and so you get a reference to it, like whenever they're talking as when they're older, and they're saying that they're talking about this death of somebody, and like how that like and then Alan Arkin gets upset and is like, we can't just be living, this way about everything and all that, and like you don't.
And I thought in that discussion she was talking about her mother.
Yes.
Because she had never seen her mother again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by this point we knew her mother was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that she had never seen him again. And that's what I thought she was talking about. But it wasn't.
No. Which it does come off a little hokey, but at that, the movie has so much goodwill built on it that, and like, and it's built around that, but it just, it's fine. And you had to have that for the whole rest of the story to work the way it is. I think
all these little shocking scenes, shocking little facts about like Keanu Reeves and the tattoo on his chest. Yeah. Okay, when he took off that shirt and he had this tattoo of Jesus, of like life-size tattoo of Jesus on his chest, I thought, okay, this is going to come back in some way, and it does. Oh my gosh, it's such a huge way. I loved it. I loved it.
It's quirky, and it's like, like Maggie's Plan has a lot of that too. And it's like, I think some people could find it distracting. I think it like adds to something to it, like, because each scene kind of has some sort of weird little thing to it that is like either shocking or jarring or meant to sort of surprise you in some sort of way. You're right. Like, every flashback, everything, like it takes like this sort of weird little turn or jab at the characters that it's interesting. I don't know. I think she's a very fascinating, but I want to see the rest of her stuff. I want to see her new movie that's out. I can see why a lot of her stuff is they're mixed. Like the reception to a lot of her stuff is a little mixed, and I can see in it. I would say it's almost probably exclusively the fact that these characters are a little weird and always off a little bit, and these sort of weird things that happen in the movie maybe is what people have issues with it, but I love it. Ava in the
it's
chat.
Funny because 71% of the people that saw this movie liked it. The critics were at 69%. I think in some ways she's kind of like Waititi.
Taika. Yeah.
Taika in some ways, in that she does kind of quirky movies, but hers make a little bit more sense. And
and they're a little more elevated.
Shocks. Yeah, they're definitely more elevated as far as the jokes and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that kind of got me, because I love the one scene until Gigi kills herself. The one thing that kind of got to me on this, and this happens a lot in movies that people probably don't notice that much, but I have, as I've gotten older, have started to notice. Robin Wright, when she made this movie, was 43 years old. She played a woman that was 50, which is cool. That's close, right? They did bring in Blake Lively to play her 20-something person, and then obviously a kid to play her as a kid. And I kind of, that all would have been okay with me if they'd done the same thing with Alan Arkin. But they didn't. He played an 80-year-old man, which he was 80 at the time doing, or 77. Oh. And he also plays a 50-year-old guy who looks 80 with a good rug. And it kind of like, that bothered me a little bit. I was like, well,
I think
lucky Alan, he got to be naked with Blake Lively at 80. What a great thing for him. But was that really?
I'll tell you, the one that bothered me more was Keanu.
Oh my God.
He's 2 years
older than Robin Wright, and he's playing this 30-year-old guy or 35-year-old guy to her 50-year-old person.
Like, the whole point of the script is that he's supposed to be much younger than her. Like, that's what you're supposed to believe. The whole thing hinges on that. Like, the whole like movie within the movie, that's the whole point, is to sort of draw this comparison
he should
between.
have been 15 years younger than her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that is the entire point of that character.
But he's not.
Yeah, he's not. And I do think, even though I love Keanu and but
Keanu looks in the role, he did look younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had him really clean cut, and you know,
yeah,
so
yes,
he did look younger. But that kind of stuff kind of drives me crazy all throughout a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one that got me the most, though, I think was Blake and Robin and Alan Arkin.
So I do think that it worked with Alan Arkin because of just how unsettling that relationship was because of that. Like visually, it was it was unnerving, and that was, I think, more like that served the point of the movie more to have that be more visible. Just like how it didn't serve the movie to have Keanu and Robin Wright look so the same age. Like that's where I do think that the age gaps of this is very much part of what this movie is about, which I guess is a theme tonight.
It must be. It must be, because that was kind of a. I mean, I guess if you wanted to shock somebody by putting Blake Lively naked with Alan Arkin and them being, let's see, 60 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was.
It was
that
shocking to see Alan Arkin with hair. I don't think.
I've seen other movies where he's had hair. I'm sure of that.
But like the way that it was styled and everything, it was it was kind of, it was like, oh, that's kind of like seeing modern day 2009 version of Alan Arkin with that hair was kind of, and it was a good hairpiece. I have to say, it wasn't like it was like, oh, it looked like a hairpiece. It looked like they got a really high quality hairpiece for Alan Arkin, but it made it look a little bit odd.
And if you notice, his friend that had the one who claimed his love, you know, for all times, he was the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't age him much at all. Put glasses on him. Yeah.
Well,
so
there was a single split second between like Blake Lively and Robin Wright that she ages up between the two of them in a split second.
Yeah, that's true. That was another shock. Yeah.
And the fact that neither one of them tried to like match their voice, and you're seeing their performances like right seconds right next to each other, and it was like, yeah, that's a little bit jarring, but because like Blake Lively's trying to like talk a little deeper, and then it just, they were not matched. Like someone did not give them the direction to match their performance.
Or maybe that too was supposed to be a shock, because she goes from being this free-spirited, you know, living in the moment kind of person to being a Stepford housewife. So yes. I think that was supposed to be that way. I think it was supposed to be jarringly different. She changed herself to pay penance. And Sam was the friend, you know, and at the end, he claims his love for her, for Robin Wright's character. Yeah. And she says, I don't want to make butterflied limb anymore. Do you see what I mean? And turned around and walked off. It was great. It was great.
So this whole movie, I don't think we've said this part yet. Robin Wright is having, you mentioned it, she's having some sort of mental breakdown. But like the way that it's sort of done is she's having, I love that. This idea that like it's thought that Alan Arkin is losing his mind, and that because someone has broken, or someone has ate all of like the chocolate cake and has made a mess of the kitchen while they were asleep, and so he's nervous that he's lost his mind, and so he sets up a camera in order to watch, because he's like, it's fine, I will accept it, but I just need proof. And then it turns out it's Robin Wright who is sleepwalking. And so then the movie...
She drives. I mean,
the movie pivots.
That's her nervous breakdown.
The movie pivots to then like you start to see these dream sequences with her, and all this stuff of like where the real world's met. I think this is an incredibly well-made movie, and structurally it's really interesting, and the way that it like walks through these sort of character things is fun. I love how it's obsessed with little things, like it's like in like the fact that like you follow through each of these steps. Like he thinks he's upset, so he gets a camera, then that goes not how you expect it would.
So it's like all of these zigs and zags. I think I said this the same thing about Molly's Game, where like she's like ahead of you in like the way that she's telling the story of like, so you think it zigs her way. It's like, no, it's not the way that you think it is. It's Robin Wright's character. And then the way that when you get to the end of it, it's then like revealed like he's like has this sort of this, I guess we're in spoilers here. He's having an affair, and it's not the way that you think it was, even though it had been perfectly set up. It had been perfectly set up,
It really had. It really had. I know.
And it was so perfectly set up, and I'm like, how did I not put that together? That this was how this was going to be. Yeah. So that reveal works, and then the whole thing about him, where he's hospitalized, all that stuff is like you keep thinking it's going to go one way, but of course it had to go that way for the story. Like it's brilliant plotting. I'm just in awe of how Rebecca Miller routinely like plots a story and keeps it surprising, and the entire time you're like, well, of course that's how it had to be. That's how the whole story had to be. And
there's all these unspoken, nuances to it that come back later. That really come back later, and you're glad that you paid attention to the first part. But it could not take your eyes off of it. I loved Blake Lively anyway as an actress, and I thought she did an excellent job. The standout performance to me though was Maria. How do you say her last name?
Is it Bello?
I think so.
The mother.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! You talk about amazing performance by her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not in it a whole lot. Like it cuts back to her a few, but then when she's out of the movie, she's out of the movie, and I think that she does leave this really a huge impact on the film and on her character, on Robin Wright's character.
And on Pippa's life, and the choices that Pippa makes are all informed by her mother. Mm-hmm. But anyway, amazing performance by her, and then the ending of it where her kids flip their positions, right, about their parents. That to me was interesting too. Yeah, and I love the fact that at 50, Robin Wright's character Pippa did not think her life was over.
Yeah, maybe we should have had those two movies together.
We should have had those two movies together, because at 43, your life pretty much is over. But in this movie, it's not. So things can go differravely.
I mean, you have Alan Arkin sitting there to the very end, being like he wants to live his life and all that. Yeah,
that's right. He's having an affair with Winona Ryder, who had to be 70 years younger than him at that point, or 60.
She wasn't that. I don't know. I'll tell you, it messes with my head.
I just loved her in this movie too.
Winona Ryder.
Her character. I loved the way she portrayed her. She tried to kill herself with a disposable razor. It was just wonderful.
Winona Ryder was great in this, and I think this is like this was right when. This was after the shoplifting thing. She wasn't getting a lot of movie roles, which is a shame, because she's just I think she's another one of these ones that doesn't get a lot of credit, and she's just extraordinary, and she's great in this, and like really like comedic. It's like funny, and I mean it's like she's playing like this kind of pitiful character, but she plays it just perfectly, and so this was like right when like. The beginnings of like the comeback. It was like this. She was also like Spock's mother in Star Trek. Like these were the same year, and then she slowly started, I guess, building up some sort of good grace for shoplifting. I don't know. I don't. Why they made such a huge example of that? I don't know. But that was a huge problem.
Sometimes on these stories there's more going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. Like what we found out with Weinstein, and a lot of actresses who their careers suffered. And they shouldn't have. They were, good actresses, and, and it could be more behind the scenes on that story as well. But yeah, that was, yes, I recommend this movie, Cade. I thought it was a lot of fun.
We talked about, I mean, like, I do find it interesting just how connected all these people outside of the movie of just like, Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves have made like 5 movies together. They didn't have a scene in this together at all, but that they're another one of these ones who's just appeared in a lot of movies together. in the movie, the opening dinner scene of this movie, like Cornel West is just one of the guests at the.
Exactly.
And
it kind of makes sense. He's kind of always been a showman kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean that's the only his only scene he's in, and he just like pops in to say a few lines at this dinner party, and then I had to look. I'm like, does Cornel West has he act in other things? Cornel West has only been in 3 movies. Where he's acted. He's done like appearances in documentaries and stuff. But the only 3 times has he ever acted, and they've all 3 been in movies with Keanu Reeves. And the other 2.
That's something.
The other 2 were Matrix movies. But yeah, and this is the only other non-Matrix movie that Cornel West has been in acting, and I was just that shocked me.
Yeah, and he pretty much just plays himself.
Yeah. Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
I didn't have a whole lot. I didn't know Zoe Kazan was going to be in this. She was good. I think this obviously before her big break and stuff, and she does a really good job as the daughter. I thought the roles of like mothers and daughters was really well defined in this movie.
Yeah.
And the way that like how Pippa and her mother's relationship and how that sort of the complicatedness of that was so great. And then how that sort of passes on, how she says like passes on, but like the opposite with her daughter is just, that was well done. And I really like them.
Yeah. I think that is one of the themes of the movie that was really, really, really good. So, yeah. So you would recommend it?
I would highly recommend this movie. It's especially since it's free on Tubi. I did not find, sometimes the ads get a little bit too overwhelming. On Tubi, if I'm going to say one negative about Tubi, sometimes they put too many.
Where their ads were was tough.
But this one wasn't.
Where they cut them, it was like, wait a minute, you should have moved that over a little or something.
And there was particularly one that was very late in the movie. But at this one, I didn't think that it. I don't know if they slowed down on the amount of ads they gave or whatever, but I didn't think there was as many ads as I've seen in a lot of them.
There wasn't and they weren't as long.
Yes.
They do 2 minutes worth of ads in fewer places, but they literally I think their ads were only like a minute. You might have 2 instead of the longer. So it was just where they cut them in that kind of bothered me a little bit. But I always recommend Tubi because we really think they should sponsor
our podcast,
our movie club, because we give them so much, so much advertising here.
And if we need to pivot and only talk about movies on Tubi, we can do that.
Hey, we could absolutely do that. There are a ton of movies on Tubi.
Yes. Well, they were just they have like the Birds of Prey movie. Like I'm always shocked by like the like when I go on there to specifically only to watch our movies.
Yeah.
I go
Equalizer was on there. I was like, oh wow.
I'm like I'm just routinely shocked. There was an ad. I'm trying to remember what movie it was, but there was an ad down there, and they're like, "It's free on Tubi," and I'm like, "Wow, okay." I mean, so good on Tubi. And since it's free on Tubi, I think you should definitely watch it. I highly recommend it. I think the performance, honestly, which is I think a pretty big bold statement, might be my favorite Robin Wright performance. I think that she's really great in this, and she's great in everything. But I think this was her. I've never seen her play this type of character before. I think she typically plays people who are a lot colder and like kind of purposefully off-putting. I think like seeing her play such a warm character that had this sort of backstory that it was layered than that, and then but she still had like where you kept distance, but it was a warmer character in some respects than we've seen her play.
Yeah, I think House of Cards has kind of solidified her in a lot of people's minds. So if you seeing her in this versus her House of Cards character, you're right. Absolutely polar opposites. And she did play a much warmer character. For me, she will always be the Princess Bride.
See, that I never really was. See, to me, she's Ginny. She's Claire Underwood. She's the lady in Blade Runner 2049. And all of those are incredibly kind of cold and off-putting characters. So I don't have this, which I mean, I love her. I mean, her Claire Underwood's in House of Cards is
amazing.
Great. Amazing. But at the same time, it's like never have I seen her really play a warm character. But you're right, and Princess Bride. But no, So yeah, I recommend it a lot. I think I'm excited to watch other Rebecca Miller things in the future. And you said you'd recommend it, Diane?
Absolutely. And I think Rebecca Miller is going to become one of those directors, kind of like J.C. Chandler, which if she does a movie, go watch it because you're probably going to be entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She takes a long time in between these movies. Like I was just looking at, like, I think we need to watch her one with Daniel Day-Lewis, which was before this. But like it's that, then Pippa Lee in 2009, and then it's Maggie's Plan, which is like 2016 or something. So that's like 7 years, and then Maggie's Plan 2, the one that she just put out with Anne Hathaway and Peter Dinklage. Like, so these are these long spaces. She did a documentary about her father, Arthur Miller. But as far as like narrative things, that there are these long time between these projects, which I think
probably should talk. She's married to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And she's the daughter of Arthur Miller. So
yes. So she has a lot of connections. And
yes.
And I do think you can sort of see some parallels between her writing style and like Arthur Miller's. Like I think that specifically this and like a Death of a Salesman, where you have someone like looking back on their life and how it's like intercut with the regrets and things. Like it does have a comparison, which is high praise, because I do think Death of the Salesman is the greatest thing ever written. But I do think you see these sort of comparisons that you can make between those two stories. Okay. That's it. That's Pippa Lee. Next, we're gonna go.
I kind of love the fact that she wrote the book and the screenplay, and she directed.
Yes.
I mean, that's talent, right?
I mean, does it make you want to read the book, Diane?
It kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do want to read the book now.
Mm-hmm.
Although I know how it ends, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how she adapted it and what parts didn't make it in, like, and how that's told. Like, I'd be interested to know if, like, I mean, I would imagine it's all first person and from Pippa, and then I don't know if it's broke up by chapters. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it may be worth it, but yes, you do know the whole, the whole story.
Yeah, because she just, yeah, she and oh well, I did look up the book to see, what kind of rating it had, because it always surprises me which books get made into movies. And how they're rated on, by readers.
Yeah.
And I did look this one up, and the rating on it was like 3 stars, which, there's a lot of books that are 4 and 5, they never get made into movies, but some books are not adaptable, obviously, but this one she felt like it was, I guess.
Well, I guess she did other films. Like, I think, like, she probably did both at the same time. Because I think it came out, like, the year before, and she had made other films before that. So, I mean, it could have been something where, like, they were kind of made alongside each other. Or whatever. But the
book was published in 2008.
Yeah. So, that quick of a turnaround, it's got to be that, like, they were made alongside of each other. That's the only way. Or like as soon as that got finished, then she's like, I could see how this is made into, like, it would have to be either alongside or immediately following it. But I think it'd be interesting if Robin Wright did the audio version of that.
Yeah, I don't know who does. Somebody surely does, because most books that are popular get made. But yeah, it has. Yeah. Well, I don't know how widely it's been read. It's only had 3,000 ratings on Goodreads, and that's not an indication of a hugely popular book. But primarily 3 stars.
Her movies aren't hugely popular. I mean, I say that as someone who I'm saying this is great and a huge fan, but these aren't like smash successes. I have never heard a single person ever talk about Maggie's Plan outside of our podcast, and I guess I had to be on somebody's list in order for it to get on there.
Well, that's true.
But still, it's not like a hugely like her things aren't hugely popular. Like this one that she did this year. I mean, it got some press coverage and things, but it wasn't like people hitting the pavement. You got to go see these things. Because I don't think her movies are for everyone, but I sure enjoy them a lot. So, watch the Private Lives of Pippa Lee on Tubi, and watch your other things. Like I said, we talked Maggie's Plan. Watch Maggie's Plan.
Definitely.
And so next up, we're going to talk about currently in theaters right now, 2023's Priscilla, written and directed by Sofia Coppola. We will play that after this short intermission.
Before we go, did Ava say anything about Pippa Lee? I know she watched it.
So Pippa said, I really like it too. Try to add this here. I really liked it too, but I didn't find that it was quirky.
Oh.
So there's that.
Okay then.
and then Ava said that I bought that Keanu was much younger than her, which
yeah, he did look younger than her, but he's actually older than her. But he did look younger.
And I mean, some of it was kind of how I think they played it too. You know, they're actors. Yeah. Obviously, they're they
can play younger, they can play older, they can do those things. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And when he's clean cut and his hair is short, you know, that's one way to make somebody, you know, change their hair, and they'll change everything about him.
Well, that was the time period of clean cut Keanu. He didn't become bearded, long haired Keanu until a few years later. But that was, and so I mean, he's looks older than obviously 90s Keanu. And even like Matrix Keanu, like he's aged a few. I mean, he's aged a bit during that time period. So that was distracting. If it was Matrix Keanu, I would believe it. You know, but we had kind of even aged a few years past that point. Yeah. Okay. So that's Pippa Lee. Next, we'll be talking about Priscilla, and we'll be going to this intermission. Be sure to grab some popcorn from the concession stand, or also. Be sure to grab some Francis Ford Coppola wine. It's a special in our concession stand right now, specifically the rosé that is named after Sofia Coppola. Be sure to grab some of that from the concession stand, and we'll be right back with Priscilla.
Good
evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
I got my wine right here. This is Sofia Coppola's wine, the rosé from Francis Ford Coppola. I got that from the concession stand just now. Well, I'm giving the plot of the movie Priscilla. It was written and directed by Sofia Coppola. It is based on the book called Elvis and Me, which was the autobiography from Priscilla Presley. And it essentially tells the story of Priscilla and her life from when she was 14 years old. She was on the base there in Germany when Elvis Presley came over and was in the army during the time, you know, your Elvis history. And their story of their time together, it is very much told from her perspective and how all that went down that way, and it charts their whole story together from that point to when he flies her over to Graceland to stay there and be there. We'll talk about the ethics of all of this, and then their marriage and everything. So it's essentially their love story, and told from Priscilla Presley's perspective. It's hard to not get into exactly how this is all told, but I'll throw it over to Diane as we talk about this early on. Diane, what did you think about this movie?
Well, you know, I kind of, first let me say, I enjoyed watching this movie.
Yeah.
I think I'm always kind of drawn to movies about the 60s, that era.
Yeah.
Just because it was so I'm not even sure I have the vocabulary to explain what the world looked like then. You know, the miniskirts, the big hair, the dramatic makeup, skinny girls, really skinny girls. The contrast between 1959 and 1969 from everything's perspective is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than any other decade, there was so much change in the world, in fashion and cars. I mean, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Elvis in the middle of all of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always kind of like drawn to those kind of movies that have a lot of that, the decor and the fashion and the hair.
And later on in the movie, you even see to the 70s and how that
Mhm.
changed too.
And then they even had magazines from that time. They show in several scenes they have her, you know, looking at, you know, pop magazines of the time and newspapers of the time. And I thought, whoever did the production on this, they deserve an award just because they were able to find so many realistic, maybe even real, really, really rare things like those magazines and the shoes. I mean, everything about it. And the opening sequence where she's walking across the shag carpet. I mean, flashback, man. We had shag carpet at my house.
Well,
Mama wouldn't let you walk on that carpet in your shoes either, let me tell you.
Sofia Coppola has this attention to detail. This eye for, let's focus on this very specific thing, this specific, like the your feet in the shag carpet, the painting of the nails, like all these different things of just, she has this eye that is just meticulous.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I remember my mom's nails being that color, that kind of a clear coat color, and white. White was a big nail color and clear like that. The only thing that with the eyeliner that was different than how Priscilla, I think, actually wore it, and they don't see it very much in movies about the 60s these days, is they would do a layer of the black with the cat tip to it, and then a layer of white eyeliner. And that was big at the time. But I didn't see that affecting it. But everything else, oh my gosh, everything, the clothes the guys wore. I mean, the clothing, everything about it, you're right. It's just such attention to detail. But no brand names talked about at all.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, there was some like hairspray thing that you saw the brand, but most of it, yeah. No,
oh,
it's
yeah.
not them. They're not them.
Yeah. You're right. And Noxema, in fact, when she was laying out all that stuff, I thought, there's my mom's vanity right there. Noxema, Chanel number 5.
Chanel got a lot of love in this movie.
They got a lot of love. So, yeah. And peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Right. And then the bottle of Coca-Cola shit. Okay, get off the brands. Anyway, what I didn't get, and this is something that, I mean, to me was kind of a miss. Why would this guy walk up to her in this PX at a military base and to invite her to Elvis Presley's house? Was it because she looked like a 12-year-old? I mean, why would he do that? I didn't get the motivation behind
I
why he
think
picked
his
her.
job was to get girls there.
Maybe it was. I think in the real life story is that they met at one of the officers had a party, and Elvis came to that party, and that's how they met. But I could be wrong. But it could be that's what he did. You didn't see him do that anywhere else, though. It was just her.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was like, because he did only bring her, and I wonder if like the idea was like each time he'd bring somebody else, or if everyone's job, all these men's job, like they were supposed to bring possible people for Elvis is the implication that's given. At least that's the way I understood it.
Yeah, and that was the only way you could really take that, because then his wife was in on it too, which to me was so gross.
Yeah,
that here this couple is. And they reached out to this, obviously, an obvious minor, to bring
he says
her
so
to this
much.
party with grown-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, a grown-up party. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, well, I'll talk to your dad and her parents. I think that at the beginning, their role, they it was believable, from the perspective that they were concerned. I mean, this is their little girl. But then once she hits 16 or 17 as a junior in high school, they let her go live in Memphis with him. And she goes to school. She gets her high school diploma while she's living in.
The movie's filled with these sort of things of that. I think there's obviously. I mean, I get. I guess Elvis fans are not huge fans of this movie.
You know what though? It was a known fact at the time. It was just like Jerry Lee Lewis and his cousin that he married. She was 13 or 14. I mean, it was kind of a known fact at the time, and I think there was some tolerance there that as a society at the time, because it wasn't that many generations back, I guess. In fact, it was only one, where my grandmother got married at 14 and my mom got married at 17. I mean, it was like, I know when I was even in high school, it was like, okay, well, you better find your husband now, and then when I got to college, it was like, you definitely better find your husband now because you're not going to find one after that. So this is what you go to school for. So I think that some of it is the time frame. Now we're more no way. No way would someone let their daughter go do this.
Yeah, and I think the implication also, and I could be wrong about this too, because I mean I think a lot what she does a good job with in Sofia Coppola is this idea that there's a lot unsaid. There's a lot like you're allowed to draw your own conclusions of why is this happening? Why do people make this decision? What does this mean? What we think it means? Is this sort of like it's all left open to interpretation, and like that's all of her movies, and I love that about it. And the idea of like why would her parents sort of agree with it is a big open question in the movie, and I do think, to me, there's an implication that there's stuff happening off screen of like, this is Elvis Presley. He's this obviously a very big celebrity and the biggest celebrity, and he's in the army. That there's perhaps some other pressure too that is exerted on him to agree to some of the early concessions of having his daughter there, like because it's moved above his head in some ways. I think there is some sort of implication of that there's other.
Yeah, I got that implication too. So I do like that about really all the decisions they're making in this. She depicts him. He for Priscilla, he plays a couple of different roles. He plays like a father figure to her. He also, it obviously becomes her husband, but he's a mentor to her, and then he's almost controlling. When he's very her hair colored and. He, would only let her wear certain clothes, that kind of stuff.
Wouldn't let her get a job.
Right. You can't do that to a fully grown woman. You could only do that to somebody who's not fully, grown in that sense. A mature woman or anyone over like 20, or 21.
He wanted. The way it's portrayed in this film. Okay, that's when we say this. It's all going to be without in the film.
It's portrayed in the film, yes. But it's based on the book written by Priscilla. So,
exactly, and she bought off on it and says it's essentially the story from her perspective of how that is. And I mean it is. I mean, so I guess we have to kind of walk through this chronologically. I think so. From when she's on the base. I mean, the actress who plays her, she deserves to be nominated for everything. I mean, she does an extraordinary performance.
She really does.
And believable at all ages. Like, I don't know if I've seen someone be able to play that young to that, and believably, and just how they carry themselves and their facial expressions. I mean, this is a brilliant performance. Yeah. And I'm not familiar with her work at all, but other than this, so I have to give her credit. She's extraordinary. I guess she was in Mare of Easttown. I'm trying to look at what other thing she's.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not familiar. Yeah, no, I guess
Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Vice, The Craft, Legacy. Not a lot.
No.
So.
And I saw Bad Times at El Royale. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that she sticks out. Like, I mean, extraordinary. And I think the guy who played Elvis, Jacob Elordi or whatever. I think he did an amazing performance too.
He really did. The chemistry between the two of them was really, really good. And then, and he always plays older than her, you know? I mean, and they're probably not that far apart in real age, but he's able to maintain that being older than her.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's able to play what is a cartoonish voice so naturally. Like, I mean, like it doesn't come off as like here's me doing a performance. Like he's like, cause he's playing him in conversation, and it's a ridiculous voice, but it feels real within the scenes, which that is incredibly difficult. And to be able to play, he has to play this role at different angles where he has to be charming and sweet and soft spoken, and then like aggressive and out there and mean, and then like sometimes he's playing the Elvis the person, and then Elvis the character that he, you know, and like it's a lot of things, and it's not told from his perspective, so you're not able to sort of have these through line, like, you know, where you're able to like understand where he's coming at from that thing, because he's playing it's from her perspective, and so that is the most difficult performance, I think, and it is one of the most difficult. That is a tightrope walk that most actors would trip up on. And it is.
I don't think he didn't miss a beat.
No,
did he? Do you know he didn't have to sing like Elvis?
No, he didn't.
And the singing dialect of Elvis is so different than anyone else in the world, I guess. And I always thought might have actually been different than his actual voice. That you in the private guy, you know, the person you never see. And I think that he does a really good job of showing that this was a real human being, because people forget that, you know, that he's such an idol, you know, that people forget that. I remember I was in my first adult job at the bank. I just graduated from college. I just got married, and I had my first, you know, eye-opening experience that women were not allowed in management training programs. Who knew? But I was working in bookkeeping, and it's all women. And the day oh my gosh, there were women that had to go home for the rest of the day. They were that broken up. I didn't get it because, you know, I'm like not in the right age group for that. I was probably 22, and here, you know,
he was old by that point.
He was. Yeah, he was 43. You know, I missed that period of, you know, there were songs of his that I liked because my mom listened to him, but he was too young for her and too old for me, I guess. But there were women that I worked with that just fell apart. It just destroyed them when he died. And you know, it's kind of like they'll never forget where they were the day Elvis died. Kind of like 9/11 for some generations, or JFK, or what, you know. But yeah, and it was that devastating to him. So to see a movie where he's just like a person, he's just a person in this movie, is just so well done, because he's usually portrayed as a character. Even in the movies he made, he was a character. He wasn't like a real person.
Yeah. And I think you get an understanding of him. Like, they could have pushed it more, but it's obviously not his movie. So it's like, I don't think that you should. But I do think you get an understanding of him in a very sort of sad way. Like he comes off as very sad and broken, and like not able to like ever, like he's always on the stage, and then when he comes here, he's trying to control this life that's not really, he can't even really control, and he's taking all of this stuff that's put on him and putting that on somebody else. Like, he is obviously like all this pressure, all this control that he gets from other people, where he can't choose anything, and he's not in control of his own life and his own career and all that. Everybody else is feeding off of that, and he takes that out on this person. And I think that is really brilliantly sort of shown, is that she is about the only person he can control, and that's why he does these sort of things. And it's heartbreaking, because I do think in some respects he does care for her, but it's also, you know, just a really disturbing look at that relationship in a lot of ways, because it's awful. I mean, the entire time I just felt Sofia Coppola does such a good job of like making you feel for her characters, and I think this is one of her best examples of that. I just felt so deeply connected with Priscilla in this. Like I really just felt every sort of thing that happened to her. I felt it broke my heart. This whole movie, it left me just utterly just devastated from how this experience was. In this experience that everyone, all these people on the outside think she has it good. Like in like Elvis even saying like you have it easy, and all these people just sort of say that like this experience, like you should be grateful of this experience. And that just makes it all the more heartbreaking. It is just a heartbreaking story, but it's so well done.
Even I remember at the time, before when they broke up, that people were shocked because she scored the big one, that she got Elvis Presley, and all that. And, but when she's in the hospital and she gives birth to her daughter and she has to put her false eyelashes on before she goes outside, you realize this must be what it's like to be like a princess in the United Kingdom. She just did not have any control of her own life at all. When they wouldn't let her play in the yard with her dog, because she was making a spectacle of herself. And she was so young and impressionable that she couldn't stand up for herself in any way, shape, or form. Everybody in that house was there to, keep her from, being a scandal, I guess is the best way to put it. And even she even had to wait for the colonel to decide that they could get married. Yeah. Before they could get married. Well, and so been together for a while.
She is a caged bird in this sort of thing. That's very much sort of
said. That's a very good way to put it.
This idea that like she comes in, like he's like, we need she's like put on ice this whole movie of like, while he gets to do and Galvan to do all these things. Here you come over, you're going to stay in this prison. Like, I mean, it's heartbreaking of like, here's this girl who's never got to be a woman. She is he brings her to Graceland to live in this prison. And the only thing she gets to go out to do is go to high school and finish her high school education. And that was the only reason because that's the deal he made with her father. And all of those scenes is shot. She is in the kitchen with her mother. It's shot from the perspective of the kitchen through the doorway as these men debate Priscilla's life, and what they should do, and make negotiations about her, and what should she do, what they should do with her, and everything. And that's one of the most brilliant ways to shoot that scene, and it's affecting, and it is one of it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
And you see it, and she's so young. And she looks up, like these power dynamics there is just unimaginable. She's this 14-year-old girl, and he's Elvis Presley. And here he is, just like the men are talking about her and how he's going to treat her and how all this stuff and what he wants and everything. And she's just having to hear about it from the other room. It is that's one of those scenes that really stuck with me, and it happens a few times. And it's shot the exact same way.
Yeah, when she moves to Memphis, she's 16. She just had her 16th birthday party, and they're negotiating over, her coming to live with him, and the sad part about it is that there are cultural organizations in the United States that are still like that. Where at that age, women are there's a negotiation taking place between men on what will happen to a daughter, and that's, I think, it was eye-opening to see it through the eyes of Priscilla, but to know that still goes on, that's where you have this bigger, it's good that it's displayed what this is really like, because I think it's eye-opening to a lot of people. And once they find out this still goes on, that it might be. Anyway, I did not know this was an A24 movie.
Yeah, it's an A24.
Which, yeah.
All the
Showed
ads
it.
before it was A24 things. I mean, A24 is
Yeah.
just excellent. What they do,
They've stepped up their game quite a bit since the early 2000s.
yeah. If it's not a Tubi movie, it's an A24 movie here on Double Feature Movie Club.
Isn't that the truth? So they didn't. They always show Elvis as being surrounded by these entourage of guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know that they did the same thing in the Elvis movie. These guys, the hangers-on, the guys that, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help but think how terrifying it must have been for Priscilla as a young, teenager to be around this many men.
Yeah.
Even though, she knew, I knew that Elvis scared for her. The first time she walks into Graceland
That's
and
terrifying.
hear all these
Mhm.
men, as a former girl,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been freaking terrified trying to figure out how to run for my life.
Well, here you are
you don't know what's
halfway
gonna
across the
happen to
world
you.
from your parents and and you're here in this situation, and it's just a room full of these men. And and then there she is, like this is where you're.
It could have been across the street. It would have been horrible
Mm-hmm.
and horrifying. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you can't outrun them if they
Yeah.
decide to turn on you. They're a pack. And
they're so loud, and they move and they run, and it's like it is like a time. I mean, and they do. She has a great job of like portraying them, but it's like
as a pack.
Yeah.
She portrays him as this pack
Mhm.
that surrounds him all the time, and unless the two of them are alone, Elvis doesn't really come across as being truly human. He's part of a
Yes.
pack,
Yes,
right?
that's why he pulls her aside and does. I mean, and does all those sort of conversations and all. And I would say, where I say, I don't think this is a movie. Like, I think where Sofia Coppola, if you compare these to other movies and these things, it's not like Sofia Coppola hates men or something like that. It's not portrayed in that sort of way. It's not like she's angry at the men in life. She's showing just by the very nature of here's a story of like here's from a female perspective. Like it's not like and I feel like whenever people will hear this and they'll hear how out of context how things are in this film, it's like it's not that. It's not in the remotely like that. She is telling. Oftentimes she'll do a story about gender. Gender's a theme, huge themes in her movies, but it is so. It's about humanity, and it's about just it's heartbreaking, and it really puts you in the shoes of this person. I love the. I mean, she gets to Graceland, and all of that is done so incredibly well of how she's there, and she doesn't have a life, and she's like just wanting to be young, and like they're like tell her you can't invite anybody over here, no one gets to come in here, you can't be out on the lawn. She talks to Elvis, and you sort of get the idea that perhaps these are just her father, Elvis's father, and all the workers there, and all, perhaps that's just their rules and not Elvis. Like you keep like the movie keeps trying to, like, and then she gets on the phone with Elvis, and it's like, well, I'm thinking about getting a job, and everything at this flower shop and everything, and he flat out tells her, absolutely not. You cannot do that. You cannot leave. And this idea, I need you by the phone in case I ever need you. And that's the first time you get that, and the entire movie is that. The entire movie is she's there for when Elvis ever needs a this domesticated young girl that is on ice to be his wife at some point and to produce a child for him. Like that's the whole point of her, is that while he goes and has these other relationships and things out in the world, gets to be Elvis Presley, she's just there back home to be this thing for him, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting thing, but
the only issue that I had with it was there's a time frame when she starts to separate from Elvis, and you kind of see it when she walks out of the room after he compliments the woman on her Chanel No. 5, whatever.
mm-hmm.
She kind of sees her starting to separate from him, but you don't see her independent life away from him. Right. You only get about 3 scenes of that. One, she's taking karate lessons or judo or whatever. The other one was at a dinner party with the judo guy.
Mm-hmm.
And a third one where she's at lunch with, female friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes straight from that up to the hotel suite to tell him that they're living separate lives and she's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And she could have spent more time with that and less time as this bird in a cage, because that came across.
I agree, and you kept hitting the same beats.
You didn't see her grow up, yeah.
And like I remember, like the one beat that I'm like, I don't even know why this is in here because it repeats beats of other things. Like I can get one reason why it's in there, but it doesn't. It's not an effective. The book thing, like we had already seen Elvis be controlling and being like talked down to her and all that, and then I guess the whole idea was that. So Elvis, there's a scene where Elvis is reading all these books, and he's like, like trying to like educate her on these books and talking down to her from that perspective, and then she's like, well, I think you need to stop with these whole books thing, and he blows up at her, and then later he gets a phone call from the colonel to tell him, hey, we need to chill it with these books, and that's in the movie. That's like several minutes of this movie in which we've already sort of.
Yeah.
No, so it's just a weird tangent. Like it seemed like Sofia Coppola read that in Priscilla's autobiography and is like, that's weird. And I would agree that it's a weird thing that Elvis became obsessed with books and to the point that it like devoured his life and his philosophy.
It was a kind of a 60s thing. You get you a guru, John Lennon went through it. I mean, there was kind of a thing that was going on at the time, and Elvis gets caught up and swept up in it.
Yes.
And because for a long time I thought maybe she wasn't ever allowed out of the bedroom, because
in the middle
their
movie.
Scenes are like in the bedroom. So, but you're right. That could have been,
lifted out. Because I agree. I think that giving more time to understanding her, this sort of separation that had of them would have been very helpful. And it would have made the ending stronger. It would have, like, all of that would have, I 100% agree. But I loved her 70s look, by the way.
I did too.
With her pants and her blouse. I'm like, I love that look so much.
She let her hair go back to brown.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, there was a good look to it too. I don't know. On Rotten Tomatoes, this has it as at 82, and 79% of users have liked this on Google. I would have given it a little bit higher rating than that. But, the movie does have flaws, but I would go see it. I mean, I did go see it, but, I would recommend others to go see it. I think it comes out streaming on the 17th of November.
Oh, is that soon?
I think so. I think Ava told me that. Let me look. I think she did.
I would highly recommend seeing this. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I've seen something in a long time that's moved me, like kind of opened my eyes in a way that this movie did, and it moved me in a way that I like it because it makes you sort of reevaluate a lot of.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really had it turned off. It must be 6:00. Yeah,
yes.
It is.
It made me evaluate a lot of just different relationships you see and in film and in real life and things of just it I don't know, it put me in a perspective that I had not seen, and I found it to be entirely engrossing. It was a film I couldn't look away from. It was the way that she paces a movie is brilliant. I think like she allows a lot of silence in her works and everything. I think like that's something that sometimes doesn't work, but she does it really well of just sitting in environments, and then like this eye of like we talked about of where it pops in and focuses on things. And these performances were great. I mean, I'm meandering a lot, but I just think the movie, it profoundly impacted me, and I sat there just in the thought of this movie a lot. I found it to be very moving and everything. It does have some flaws. I think you're absolutely right, Diane, about where it should have focused in more on their lives separating. I think that was a very fascinating part, and it just kind of showed us montages and everything. but that was very fascinating. I would have loved to have seen more of that.
Yeah, because it's really when she grows up and realizes she doesn't want to live this way.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is a cage. I mean, I think Elvis was in it too.
Mm-hmm. Caught in a trap.
And you're right. Can't walk out. And you're right. I think he took a lot of it out on her.
Mm-hmm. Ava was saying, I guess on the 17th, it's the Rebecca Miller's that she came to me, her new movie.
Oh, okay.
It's on streaming, which I guess we could have waited to talk about that one too. Maybe we'll see. But no, I highly recommend it. Watch it in theaters if it comes out on streaming. I mean, I'm sure it'll be eventually on streaming. I'm sure this will be a contender for a lot of awards. It will probably be nominated for Best Picture. I don't know if it'll win. I don't imagine it would, but I do think it, as far as I've seen in theaters, a really, really good contender for Best Picture, I think, because I think it's just so well put together. And it's certainly for Best Actress. And I do think that the Best Supporting for Jacob. Whether it's just going to be interesting to see what else gets nominated and everything, because obviously haven't went through all the Oscar movies just yet. But yeah,
it hasn't gone through all the Oscar stuff yet. But if you compare it to Elvis, and the accolades that movie got, which was really stylish, but not very deep, they're two different movies. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't even think you can compare them.
I would have loved the cameo of Tom Hanks as the Colonel.
Oh my God!
That was what I was waiting for.
They should have had at least one of those phone calls from the Colonel.
Yeah,
they should have had Tom Hanks do the voice.
Yeah,
we're gonna let
no
you get
more
married
books for
now.
you, Elvis.
You're gonna have to get married because Anne Margaret says you're engaged. So yeah. It was really and truly, they got married to bail him out of a situation. Just like they sent him off to be in the service to bail him out of a situation. And, it's just kind of sad when you think about his life. Everything was really and truly in a reaction to something else. And the drugs, that was
well. We didn't even talk about the drugs in this, but yeah, I mean, like, I think this pairs really well with the Elvis movie. I think it actually. I'm glad I saw that.
This is the on-stage version.
Yeah,
and this is the behind-the-scenes version. Yeah,
and to sort of show like this really over the top sort of, this is the elevated Elvis and what like you said, on stage, and this is the sort of behind in the sort of ramifications of that. I think the Elvis movie, it did a really good job of showing like this, we're putting you on these uppers and downers to like do this whole thing. And then I think this shows the sort of effects of that and how that has a personal effect and how he kind of passes that on to Priscilla, this idea that, you got to have these uppers to put on the show and downers just to come off of that whole thing. And it's sad. It is sad because, I mean, it's like, here's this whole, you see in both films, this web of people. And this is for every celebrity and everything that just like everyone's having to feed this engine of this person in order because all these people, their whole livelihoods is based on the success of this one person. And at the core of it, it's a human being that's having to have all this. And then the effects of, this on Priscilla, I think was interesting, and it was made for an interesting movie. And Sofia Coppola was the perfect person to tell that story.
I think you're right. I do. I think you're right. I think she was the perfect person to tell that story.
Makes me want to crack open my bottle of Sofia. Isn't that a cool bottle?
Oh, wow. That is a cool bottle. And I expect that to get opened up the next time I see you. So be sure and put it in the refrigerator. I like my rosé chilled.
Cool. Yeah. It's her. It's the Sofia Rosé from Sofia the Coppola winery. Okay, that is Priscilla. We'll head into preview time now and preview the upcoming attractions here next week on Double Feature Movie Club.
Yay!
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Your way.
Well, so next week on Double Feature Movie Club, we bring another actor, double feature for an actor. This week it is Michael Fassbender. We'll be watching 2 Michael Fassbender movies. One will be Frank from 2014. Where can people watch that, Diane?
Well, let me just look real quick. Tubi.
Well, there we
Tubi.
go. Once
Gotta
again,
love Tubi.
on Tubi. So this should be a fun movie. It should be interesting. He wears a paper mache head the entire movie. Don't know too much other than that. I think it has some music in it. It might be a musical. So there's that. And then the other movie that we're watching is the new release, Michael Fassbender, and it's the new David Fincher movie, and it's called The Killer. It was on Netflix this weekend. We will review it, of course, next weekend here on Double Feature Movie Club. It's on Netflix, right? So people can watch it.
and I've been looking forward to that one because you don't do much in the ads on Netflix about it. So yeah, I've been kind of, one of the things we didn't talk about with and Priscilla was the music.
Oh, we did not talk about the music.
Crimson and Clover and Santana. I mean, oh my.
It's good music.
Music that I love.
No Elvis music.
No Elvis music, thank God. But yeah.
Which
Chanterelles. I mean, a lot of good music.
Dolly Parton.
And the real purpose for that song was the parting, of people, which, not the Whitney Houston version or any of the other 101 versions of it. It was Dolly Parton's true version that she wrote for when she left Porter Wagner. So,
yeah. Which is, it's true. It's a complicated story. Not to continue talking about Priscilla, it's a complicated story. Obviously, both parties say that they love each other and that sort of thing, and I think makes love seem very complicated and everything, and it tells it in a sort of true fashion. It's heartbreaking, and obviously the person that you love isn't. It's a story about a person that you love that's not everything you want them to be. Diane.
I don't know what. I don't know why it's going off now. I have no idea. I've tried everything.
Did you hit snooze on the alarm?
Okay.
Well, great. We went. This is one of our longer episodes again. So.
Yeah. And it just being the two of us.
Yeah.
Usually we don't talk that long.
No, we don't. So, this has been 50 episodes, if you can believe it, Diane. Can you believe it?
I can.
Okay, great.
I absolutely can. But I've enjoyed every one of them.
That's 100 movies.
Yes. That
we do
you've watched. Yes. I have not watched all 100 movies.
Yeah. Yes.
There was a couple in there that, after listening to Harrison, I was like, I'm never watching that movie.
As a gift, when we do our 100th episode, you can go back and watch the ones that you missed, so that you could see it all. That's a good gift. Good gift to not only to me but to the audience. To the audience.
They don't. Trust me. And you would just do it to, cause pain for me. I can't believe this Frank movie is looking an awful lot like Rubber.
Ava said, I must point out I am not responsible for Diane's phone going off.
Yeah, she didn't have anything to do with that. It was all me.
Great. So yes, that is the show. That is our 50th episode, which I am excited. That's 50 more, Diane.
50 more, Cade.
Join us next week. As always, we're here weekly. You can follow us. So we're here on Sunday nights. We do our live stream on Sunday nights. We are, or you can listen to it next day wherever you get your podcast, Double Feature Movie Club. You can also follow us on social media. We have an X, we have a Threads, we have an Instagram, all those at Double Feature MC. So follow us there, whatever's your chosen platform there. And on Instagram, we do these really cool 60-second reviews that are fun to do. So check those out. And what should people do, Diane, wherever they see us?
Click all the buttons.
Should click all
Like
the buttons.
us, subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to get your feedback. Cade sees it, I don't, so it's all good with me.
Absolutely, yes. Rate us 5 stars. Do everything. So yeah, next week on Double Feature Movie Club, it's Michael Fassbender night, and we'll be watching Frank on Tubi and The Killer on Netflix. So join us then.
Yay!
That's it. See ya. Bye.
Bye.